so this is our second lesson video for Chapter 7, which is on population growth and how it affects the environment. Alright, so demographics of countries. Countries are classified into two main groups, although we will sometimes talk about three groups. That's highly developed countries like we live in the United States, and developing countries, which are our third world type countries. However, sometimes we'll talk about moderately developed countries because they're kind of in the middle of these two. These classifications are based on population growth rates, the degree of industrialization, and relative prosperity. So in other words, for relative prosperity, we're talking kind of about income. You know, how prosperous are the people in that country. And again, in the United States, we're considered a highly developed country. So highly developed countries include places like the United States, Canada, France, Germany, Sweden, Australia, and Japan. They tend to have the lowest birth rates in the world, low infant mortality rates, longer life expectancies, and higher per person income. So in highly developed countries, we're not having a whole lot of babies, our babies aren't dying, we're living a long time, and we're making decent money. That's what it boils down to. Now, of course, are there people who live in a highly developed country who don't have a high income? Yes. But even if you have what's considered a very low income in the United States, it is very high compared to third world countries. Like we watched that video way back at the beginning of the year where I showed you the Uganda video that my friend had sent me from a mission trip that he went on. And a lot of them live on less than $1 per month. I think most of us in the United States have more than that. So that's what I mean by high per income. I don't mean we're all like the founder of Facebook making millions. I just mean compared to a lot of people around the planet, we have a pretty good amount of money. So moderately developed countries are in the middle. So it's like Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Niger, Ethiopia, Laos, and Cambodia. So their birth rates are higher than highly developed countries, but are starting to decline. They have a medium level of industrialization. There's still a lot of agriculture and things going on. And then average per person incomes is lower than highly developed countries, but still more than the less developed. And then less developed countries include Mexico, Turkey, Thailand, most South American countries. They have the highest birth rates, but also the highest infant mortality rates. So they're having the most babies, and a lot of their babies are dying. They have the shortest life expectancies and the lowest average person incomes. So the less developed countries are the ones that we need to help the most. We need to help get them going and get them started. And so a lot of times that help comes from us helping their industrialization. Where is that on here? Oh, it's not on here. They tend to have low industrialization in the less developed countries. So, age structure of countries. Age structure diagrams, they look like this. The left side of an age structure diagram represents males in the population, so you can see this kind of greenish color. And the right side is females, so this kind of pinkish or reddish color is the females. The bottom third of each diagram is pre-productive humans, so 0 to 14 years. So if you're looking at the bottom, we have our 0 to 14-year-olds. The middle third is the reproductive humans. That's 15 through 44. So around this area, we have our reproductive humans. Those are the ones who would actually be having babies. And then the top third are our post-reproductive humans, which is greater than 45. So we have our top up here. And so the segment widths are proportional to the population sizes. So if you look in this age structure diagram, there's about equal males and females in most categories because you can see how wide the line is. And if you look, they have the most babies and then they have the least older people. So that's what's happening there. This is indicative of a less developed country. Having a lot of babies, not living a very long time. Alright, so let's look at a couple more. So, again, this is the one we just looked at. This is an example of Ethiopia. And so there's rapid population growth because they're having a lot of babies. What are those babies going to start doing? Well, eventually they're going to reach this age and then they're going to start having more babies. Here's what kind of the United States would look like. It has slow growth. So if you look, there's a lot less kids and then there's a lot more of the older people. Like look at this part. Just this part compared to Ethiopia. There's barely anybody up here, and in the United States it looks like this. And then in Italy, they have no growth or declining growth. They're starting to get, if you look, it's wider up here, so they're starting to get a lot more old people. So, which one's the best? Well, they all have their pros and cons, just like everything that we talk about in this class. So, population growth momentum can be positive or negative growth, and can have significant social and economic implications on their countries. So rapid and significant population growth can stress food supplies, housing, the environment, employment, and infrastructure. So if your population is growing too fast, you can have a lot of issues. However, conversely, a population with too few young people and many elderly have too few workers to meet the needs of the overall population and help both care for the infirm and provide a large enough tax base to support the cost of the population as a whole. So in other words, the problem is if you end up having too few young people and too many elderly people, the elderly people have retired. They still need to be cared for. They still need, like in the United States, they're going to draw Social Security. Well, if you don't have enough young people putting in Social Security, then that's an issue. So there's issues either way, if you grow too fast or if you're declining too quickly. But still, overall, we need the population to stop exponentially growing in the world as a whole. So, next thing is culture and fertility. So culture are just the values or norms of a society. It's what's considered right from wrong. It includes languages, beliefs, and spirituality. Things like that make up the culture of a society. So one thing that's different in a lot of cultures is the roles that different genders play. So the varying roles men and women are expected to fill. Different societies have different gender expectations. A couple is expected to have the number of children traditional in their society. So for example, in America, a lot of people, they really want to have that 2.5 kids. They want like 2 or 3 kids. And so like, for example, if a couple has like 10 kids, everybody's just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you had so many kids. Or sometimes if somebody only has 1 kid, like we only have 1 kid, everybody's just like, oh, well, they need brothers and sisters, you should have more. As if, you know, it's their, you know, family. But, so different cultures have different beliefs. In some cultures, having as many kids as you can is considered a blessing. In some cultures, they don't want to have as many. It just all depends on what the culture of your society is that you live in. Alright, so we're going to end here for lesson 2, and so lesson 3 will be coming up in just a minute.